In our headlines on this Monday, April 14th, here in South Korea. The Trump administration says its tariff exemptions for electronic devices are temporary and that a fresh set of import duties will be rolled out for smartphones and semiconductors soon. Meanwhile, back here in South Korea, exports of information and communications technology products reached over $20 billion in March, up almost 10% on year. On the international front, despite efforts to end Russian aggression against Ukraine, air assaults by the Kremlin continue with the latest such raid, killing dozens of Ukrainians and injuring over 100 others. U.S. tariff exemptions on electronic devices are temporary in nature, and a separate set of tariffs will be in place for semiconductors and smartphones in the near future. Lee has our top story.
U.S. President Donald Trump and his key trade officials on Sunday made it clear that his administration's newly announced exemptions for reciprocal tariffs on electronic products would be partially or completely reversed in the coming weeks. After a technical guidance issued late Friday, Washington issued an exemption on select electronics, such as smartphones, laptops, personal computers, servers, and semiconductor equipment. Not only does this ease the burden on Samsung Electronics and Apple, it also means a possible exemption from some of the levies on Chinese imports. However, Trump took to his social media page on Sunday to clarify, saying tariffs would still be imposed on Chinese goods, specifically the existing 20% fentanyl tariffs. Trump also stressed that the U.S. administration is taking a look at semiconductors and the whole electronics supply chain in upcoming national security tariff investigations. According to U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, while there may be some tariff exemptions on select electronics now, a separate tariff on semiconductors is coming.
So what he's doing is he's saying they're exempt from the reciprocal tariffs, but they're included in the semiconductor tariffs, which are coming in probably a month or two. So these are coming soon.
Speaking to CNN on Sunday, White House National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett said that items subject to Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act have always been excluded from the reciprocal tariffs, and a separate investigation will be conducted to determine the necessary measures to protect the United States. He added that the tariff investigation into semiconductors has to do with broader concerns of U.S. dependence on Chinese-made imports. Hassett said that there is a very uncomfortable amount of Chinese input in U.S. weapons systems, stressing the importance of Section 232 of the Act. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And the government here is requesting the Trump administration reconsider its restrictions on copper imports from South Korea. The request follows the launch of an investigation by the U.S. Commerce Department to assess the national security implications of U.S. imports of copper and copper derivative products. In response, the Trade Ministry here has pointed out that South Korean copper products have contributed favorably to the American economy. The ministry also stressed that U.S. tariffs on copper imports would simply serve to raise prices and disrupt the current stability of the supply chain. Exports of Korean ICT products expanded almost 10% on year in March, led by chips and display panels. Our Moon Ji-young has the latest numbers.
Rebounds in chip and display sales led to an increase in South Korea's tech exports last month, according to data released by the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy on Monday. ICT exports in March reached almost $20.6 billion, up 9.4% compared to the same month the previous year. Month-on-month data shows that tech exports surged by 24%, while the trade balance saw an increase of a whopping 48% during the same period. Exports of major tech items such as chips, displays, cell phones, and computers have all risen together for the first time in 8 months. Semiconductor exports increased by nearly 12% year-on-year, driven by rising demand for high-value memory chips such as high-bandwidth memory and double data rate 5. This growth is attributed to expanded investments in AI servers and a reduction in companies' memory inventories. The display sector rebounded by 1.3% after 8 months, thanks to the launch of new mobile phones. Experts and officials from the Trade Ministry attribute these rebounds to preemptive measures taken by leading companies to secure their inventories in anticipation of reciprocal tariffs imposed by the U.S.
Certainly, after the announcement of the tariffs imposition, there was a trend where companies tried to pull forward their shipments for the following month, and the month after that, before tariffs were increased.
Exports of mobile phones soared by nearly 15%, while computers jumped over 28%, both showing double-digit growth. By country, shipments to the U.S., Vietnam, and Japan performed strongly last month, driven by robust demand for chips. In contrast, exports to China, South Korea's top export destination, fell by over 12% due to decreased demand for chips and computers. There was also a drop in exports to Europe. Meanwhile, ICT imports totaled over $12.2 billion, resulting in a positive ICT trade balance. 문지영, Arirang News.
And the number of employed Koreans in their late 20s has retreated to its lowest level in 12 years. Data shared by Statistics Korea on this Monday show some 2.4 million Koreans between the ages of 25 and 29 were employed in the first quarter of this year, down 98,000 on year. The agency is linking the drop to declines in manufacturing and construction jobs. Moreover, this latest drop is not only the deepest since 2013, but also continues a 9-quarter run of on-year employment slumps for people in this age group. Acting President Han Duck-soo has called his commitment to navigating the nation through tough tariff talks with the Trump administration his final mission. Chairing a cabinet meeting earlier on this Monday, Han emphasized turning the crisis into an opportunity by leveraging his extensive trade experience to protect national interests and enhance Korea's global competitiveness. Now, these remarks come amid much speculation about a potential bid by Han for the presidential election on June 3rd. He has neither confirmed nor denied his intention to run. He has instead called on the parliament for prompt action on pending bills aimed at stabilizing livelihoods and spurring economic growth. In this regard, he stressed the need to swiftly pass the Semiconductor Special Act, as well as measures to help protect small businesses affected by delayed payments. We are now counting down 50 days to the early election, and rival political parties are currently gearing up for their partisan primaries ahead of the big day. Our correspondent Kim Do-yeon has the latest.
South Korea's major political parties are gearing up for their presidential primaries, but controversy is brewing for both sides, with candidates dropping out. The Democratic Party of Korea's previously announced rules for the competition, 50% eligible DP members and the other 50 by an open survey, was the issue. In the past two presidential primaries, anyone who signed up in advance could participate in the voting, regardless of party membership history. This is why Kim Do-yeon said it's against tradition and the party's spirit and dropped out of the race on Monday. Kim Do-yeon also said the rules aren't fair. DP's election committee on Monday shut down the claims and started its first meeting.
The early election needs to be an answer to the call of those who fill the streets. The committee will be fairer, transparent, and more stable than ever for this primary.
The DP's frontrunner Lee Jae-myung didn't comment on the rules and instead went on to promote his candidacy by visiting an AI company on Monday, pledging 100 trillion won of investment into AI industries. Despite this, a new high-profile participant entered the race on Sunday, former Gyeongsangnam-do Governor Kim Kyung-soo. As for the rules, he accepted them as he entered the race. Meanwhile, the People Power Party's official registration started on Monday, with the deadline set for Tuesday.
I know it's tough times, but I ask good candidates to come forward. Our party's primary principle is clear. All candidates will be at the same starting point and under the same standards.
However, the issues seen at his rival party were seen in the PPP as well. It's tactical voting prevention measures. The same as DPs are seen as unfair for some candidates, with some saying that to expand support, this measure has to be scrapped. However, the rule stuck And former lawmaker Yu Seung-min said he will not be joining the PPP primary in protest. In addition, Seoul Mayor Oh Se-un also declared that he is not joining the PPP primary, but didn't specifically mention that the decision came in protest of the rules. On Monday, however, Hong Jun-pyo, the latest Daegu mayor, joined the race as he had previously announced. He focused on the need to beat DP's Lee Jae-myung and that he's the only candidate who's able to compete with Lee. With the election now 50 days away, it's crucial to garner positive support and attention in a short span of time. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
A Russian air assault against a northeastern Ukrainian city this past weekend has taken dozens of lives and injured over 100 others. Our Pyongyang covers this latest attack.
Rubble and bodies were left among the ashes and smoke after 2 Russian ballistic missiles struck the northeastern Ukrainian city of Sumy on Sunday. The attack killed 34 people, including 2 children, and left 117 injured in one of the deadliest attacks in the conflict of the year. Sumy, located just over 25 kilometers from the Russian border, has endured a wave of missile strikes in recent weeks. The missiles hit the city center just after 10 a.m. local time on Palm Sunday, as residents were attending church services, one of the busiest religious days of the year, according to Ukraine's economy minister.
There is no military base, no military people, center of the city. What could there be possibly? There is no air defense here. There is nothing here. They're just erasing the nation. This is genocide. How can you call it any different?
The attack came despite a U.S. brokered agreement between Russia and Ukraine last month to halt strikes on each other's energy infrastructure. On Sunday, President Volodymyr Zelensky strongly condemned the latest attack, stating that only filthy scum were capable of such actions and urged the international community to respond with action.
Only pressure, only decisive action can change this. Every Russian ballistic missile, every cruise missile, every Russian Shahed, every guided bomb strike not only our people, not only our communities, but also diplomacy and the political efforts of everyone who is truly trying to bring this to an end.
Reactions quickly poured in from global leaders. Keith Kellogg, Donald Trump's envoy for Ukraine, wrote on X that the missile strike crosses any line of decency and reiterated that the U.S. president was working hard to end the war. European leaders, including French President Emmanuel Macron and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, took to social media to express support for Ukraine, condemn Russia's actions, and call for a full ceasefire. Pyongyang, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, in the Middle East, an Israeli airstrike hit one of the last remaining fully operational medical centers in Gaza City. In the wee hours of Sunday local time, Israeli missiles struck the Al-Ali Arab Hospital, reportedly destroying the emergency room, the outpatient clinic and the pharmacy. Other buildings within its vicinity, including a church, were also damaged. The Israeli military claims the strike targeted a Hamas command center operating within the hospital. And over in Oman this past Saturday, officials from the U.S. and Iran addressed the latter's nuclear weapons ambitions, with more talks scheduled for this coming weekend. Our Park Gonu reports.
Nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran are set to resume this weekend, but with potential pitfalls ahead, including the agenda and format. The first round that took place Saturday in Oman was participated in by U.S. and Iranian diplomats and conducted indirectly through Oman's mediation, marking the highest level meeting between the two nations since 2018. After the talks ended, the two sides spoke for a few minutes face to face. On Sunday, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth called the talks constructive, but also said the U.S. continues to seek a diplomatic resolution to Iran's nuclear program. And he added that the U.S. military stands ready to go deep and big if talks fail. U.S. President Donald Trump also commented.
And we'll be making a decision on Iran very quickly.
That came after Trump said the day before that things were going okay. Iran on Sunday also described the first round of talks with the U.S. as productive, but maintained its stance of keeping the agenda and format the same amid remaining tensions.
What is clear at this stage is that the negotiations are indirect, and from our perspective, are solely about the nuclear issue, and with the necessary will to reach an agreement based on equality.
That comes as the U.S. is reportedly looking to broaden the agenda to include Iran's ballistic missile program and its support for the Axis of Resistance, a network of militant groups opposed to Israel. Park Gonu, Arirang News.
The U.S. Energy Department's designation of South Korea as a sensitive country goes into effect tomorrow, that is Tuesday. While the designation does not set new restrictions, it does mandate internal reviews before joint programs or actual visits to listed countries. Accordingly, pundits fear the designation will hinder collaboration between Seoul and Washington in areas such as nuclear energy and artificial intelligence. The Korean government had not been notified of the designation by Washington in advance, although the decision had been made under the Biden administration. The accidental bombing of a residential area in Pocheon City last month was indeed owing to negligence, according to findings of an interim investigation by the Defense Ministry released on this Monday. The two pilots entered the wrong target coordinates. They also dropped the bombs without visually verifying the target, nor did the training follow the planned flight path for the live fire drill. Along with these two pilots, unit commanders have been additionally booked for lax supervision. The ministry is seeking disciplinary action against 9 officials who belatedly reported the case and will issue a warning against the Air Force's operations commander, holding him accountable for command responsibility and insufficient reporting. In other news, for the first time in over 80 years, capital Seoul recorded snowfall in mid-April as winter made an unexpected call. Our Peunji has more.
Snow piled up on flowers and trees as South Korea experienced unseasonably cold mid-April weather. Over 10 centimeters of snow accumulated in parts of Gangwon-do province on Sunday. Light snow and hail also fell in the capital area as it went through an unusual spring chill. Snow of up to 0.6 centimeters was recorded in central Seoul between Saturday night and Sunday morning, making it the first time in 81 years that the city saw snow in April. This is mainly because of cold Arctic air passing through the Korean peninsula. The weather turned turbulent as the lingering cold air from above clashed with a mild spring breeze on the ground, causing gusty winds and hail. And strong winds battered the country over the weekend, leading to widespread damage. In Jeju, the winds damaged roofs and toppled trees. And in Busan, winds of up to 30 meters per second brought down signboards and caused power outages. Also in the capital area at Incheon Airport, a tug vehicle crashed into an aircraft on the ground, leading to flight delays. The National Weather Service says strong winds and falling temperatures are forecast for the coming days.
Damage from strong winds is expected until Monday, and temperatures will start to go up from Wednesday. We're expecting to see temperatures return to normal starting late this week.
Rain or snow is expected across the country until Tuesday, before spring warmth returns later this week. Peunji, Arirang News.
It certainly felt like the rewind button on the seasons was a hit. Winter made a surprise comeback over the weekend with gusty winds. There has been more rain nationwide today, which could linger into tomorrow at dawn. Meanwhile, mountainous regions in Gangwon-do province could continue to see some more snowfall. Afternoon highs for 5 to 10 degrees Celsius lower than norms today, but as the weather clears up tomorrow, daytime highs will return to seasonal averages, but you'll still need a light winter jacket for your morning commute. Seoul starts off at 4 degrees Celsius, Chuncheon at just 0 degrees. Then highs will jump to the mid-teens in most parts at 16 degrees in the capital. Daejeon, Daegu will be topping out at 16 and 17 degrees Celsius respectively with decent air quality. Then things will get much warmer heading into the weekend under brighter skies. Well, that's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up right after this break is our daily panel session. Do stay with us. Thank you for now.